We go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. It's Jack Ellison with the 10,000 Sales Calls podcast here. Episode all of whopping 1. So 1 of 1. And I am fortunate enough to have my first guest. I guess Bob Kodner, I met about a year ago remotely. I saw some information he was doing online, which we'll talk about StallStash today. But Bob, welcome to the podcast. You are victim one, lack of a better word, but I appreciate you doing this. And just to give the audience kind of what this whole podcast is about, this is whole part of the Clean Square Network. You know, we have the 10, I guess this is the 10,000 Sales Calls podcast, but we also have Chasing Dirt podcast. The intent of the 10,000 Sales Calls podcast is, as Bob will probably attest and as we'll talk to a little bit later, and most manufacturers we'll talk to, is getting the message out about their product is very challenging in today's environment. There's just a lot of reps out there with a lot of manufacturers pushing a lot of different products. And at the end of the day, getting mind share with the sales force out there in distribution land or even directly to the end users is a challenge. So part of this whole 10,000 sales calls is my intent is to bring people like Bob onto the podcast and allow them the opportunity to kind of pitch their product. Not lack of a better word, we're going to basically have an initial sales call. This would be the equivalent of what Bob probably does 20,000 times a year, but we're going to put it into a podcast format that people can look at and view and hopefully gather some information about what may be of interest to them. So the intent here, Bob, is to really get your message out. If we do our job right today, I think it'll hit over 10,000 different people, and I think hopefully some good things will come out of it. So with that all said, that's our little commercial since it's episode 1. But Bob, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
How are you today? Doing well?
Doing well. Thank you.
Now, StallStash. Now, I bumped into you about a year ago on LinkedIn, and one of the beautiful things about this whole business, the business of cleaning, and I'll get into how you got in this business, but one of the beauties I like about this thing is people like yourself who invent something, that come up with something, that found something. I guess you're the president and founder of StallStash, but something that is so simple to look at and go, why didn't I think of that? There's such a need for it within the industry. And finally, someone who's really passionate about just taking that idea and having the gumption to move that idea forward and take it to the market. And for that, I applaud you. And you kind of fit, all three from my personal preferences, 3 check boxes about just taking that something that, wow, it makes perfect sense. Why not take it across the whole country, across the whole world? So tell me, add a nutshell for people who don't know what StallStash is. What is StallStash in its purest form? What is that?
StallStash is a restroom attachment. It's a restroom organizer that attaches the stalls, that protects phones, purses, keys, wallets, sunglasses, valuable personal belongings. We all walk into shared restrooms. There's never a clean and safe place to put your stuff for the few seconds or a few minutes that you're in there. So that's what we've invented, and it attaches easily. There's no maintenance. It secures tightly, and it can hold up to about 10 pounds. And again, it just provides a clean, safe place for your stuff when you enter a shared restroom.
And people don't really think about it. I was telling Bob, before the podcast, Connor, on my Chasing Dirt podcast last week, and Connor was mentioning he met a janitor. He met a janitor through basically dropping his phone on the floor, and it slid across the bathroom floor. And as he was mentioning that, I know Bob and I were talking about doing a podcast. I thought it was just perfect timing. But the simple idea, just something that fits purely over the partition. And I guess there's 2 different sizes too, right, Bob? I wasn't aware of this. Partitions come in half-inch and inch increments.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. There's standard partitions come in 2 widths. It's the same unit with a different measurement on top that fits either partition width.
But the short of it is going on top of the partition. Basically, you step in to do your business, and you've got something that can hold a purse, you can hold a cell phone, you can hold your keys, but basically whatever you don't want to have in your hands at the time, right?
Correct. And when you think about,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How did you come up with the idea? What was I'm saying you were not in the cleaning business, were you, before your prior life?
I was not. I've been in sales all my life, and one day I was with my wife and kids. It was in the summertime. had to use a restroom in a department store, literally just had my phone, my wallet, my sunglasses, my keys. And it just occurred to me that there was nowhere safe and clean to put my stuff. This is pre-pandemic.
Yep.
I was going to put it on the vanity on the sink area, water everywhere, just a petri dish of an environment. And I thought, I've been in so many public commercial shared restrooms over the years. I've never seen a solution for a problem where I know that everybody has. I talked to my wife. I said, where do you put your purse when you walk into a stall? And she's like, oh my gosh, it's disgusting. You have to put it on the floor on top of a toilet paper holder. So that was really the catalyst for my spending months developing multiple prototypes from the engineering side, from the material side, before we came up with something that was durable, that was easy to attach, that didn't bend, that didn't crack. So it's a simple solution, but a lot went into the development, and knock on wood, it's been very well received. Everybody needs it, and it's one of those products to where I think the other nice thing is, because it's only used temporarily, people just like the fact that they can place it, they pick it up, they walk out. From a maintenance standpoint, it's easy to maintain. And it just, I think especially now, during the pandemic, post-pandemic, however you want to evaluate it, I think our contact and hygiene habits have changed. I think we are all much more aware of what we're touching, what we're coming in contact with, where we're putting our stuff. So that certainly didn't hurt sales.
No, absolutely. Just again, it's a simple idea, but again, I got to imagine it's complex to put all this thing together and just get the gumption to say, I'm going to do this and bring it forward. And again, COVID changed a lot of things. Your high touch areas, as you mentioned, not wanting to touch certain surfaces. But what market segments, Bob, would you say are you seeing right now is kind of the thrust of where you're gathering your steam with as you launch this product out? Schools,
Healthcare facilities, restaurants, office buildings. I would say those are the big four. We have clients from airports to, a pizza place. Yeah. And everywhere where you are, again, walking into a shared restroom. And I think the other thing is business owners, property managers, schools, I think there is an increased awareness of the sanitary conditions of restrooms. So this is a nicety, certainly is not a necessity, but it's just a nice touch that facility managers, property managers, business owners can provide their visitors, guests, students, etc., to where it's like, okay, I can walk into a bathroom. I'm walking in with a $1,000 phone. I'm walking in with a purse, a laptop that has every piece of valuable personal information I have. You're walking in with a pair of sunglasses that could be $100. So there's a lot of value to what we are bringing in to a very vulnerable space. So I think it's just from a customer standpoint, it's just really across the board. But I would say schools, healthcare facilities, restaurants, and office buildings are the biggies.
No, it's a beautiful concept. I think, Clean Square, which is really part of the kind of the parent of what I'm doing with the podcast. That's the vehicle that I'm hosting all the podcast on. But I have the four. People say, what is Clean Square? What is the square within Square? And it's really within any business, but really in the Jansan business, it's the people, it's the products, it's the processes, but it's perceptions. And where I see yours coming in, you solve a problem. So there's definitely a need there, having something to put in, put it on. But what I think the value, and I think I would definitely urge you to lean into this with your client base, new, existing, whatever it may be, but that perception, you step in that restroom at a, I don't care if it's an airport, I don't care if it's a high end or low end restaurant, that perception of that restroom is kind of how you judge everything there. And that nicety, as you mentioned, of the StallStash, just being another piece that really helps move that perception one step forward. It doesn't take it backwards. If anything, it moves it two steps forward. But I would urge you to really look at that perception that you're trying to drive, because I'm not sure what feedback you can share that you've gathered, but I would love to see, a property manager or a BSC or a school or a hospital, take their highest volume restrooms and really put this in and just throw it out there for 4 to 6 weeks and see what feedback they come. And you may have some feedback that you've gathered over the last year and a half of rolling this thing out, but anything to share on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, studies have been done, and studies show that if somebody has a negative experience with a business's restroom, I don't know what the percentage is, but a high percentage of those customers will not revisit that restaurant or business. Yeah. Again, like you said, it's going to leave an impression, good or bad. It's going to leave an impression.
No, absolutely. And you're full board on this. This is not a side gig for you. This is a pure passion play. And again, you check the third box on this. You are running and gunning with this thing and gaining steam every day, right?
In for a penny, in for a pound. Yes. Yeah. But, and it's fun because I like the sales side. We do a lot of cold calling. We do a lot of shipping samples. I think this is one of those things where when people get it in their hands, like you're holding it up, all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's the difference between envisioning, okay, how does this look? What does this feel like? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is so simple. This makes total sense. We've walked into office buildings to where they will literally just buy them on the spot. It's affordable. There's no maintenance required. As well as anyone, the shortages of labor and time that these companies have where to all of a sudden have to designate someone to start installing things. It's
just snaps on.
That's a big commitment, and we've eliminated that.
What is? Give me a couple of like your most successful success stories. What are your clients saying? Their clients are saying. What are some simple takeaways that you go out there and when you sit down in front of a new property manager or a BSC? What are some of the ahas that you share that people say, I love this?
I think the one that stands out is a property manager on the West Coast, commercial property manager who had a client that they could just never make happy. It was just one thing after another. Yeah. They were a high profile firm and they attached these in this client's restrooms, and I'm paraphrasing the testimonial, but it was, it was one of those things where it's like she said it's the first time the tenant's ever been happy. And I know that seems like it's a little hyperbole. But I think it just, again, speaks to the fact that people have gotten used to just finding the least gross place to put their stuff when they walk into a restroom. For women, it's on the top of a toilet paper holder, a feminine hygiene product holder, on the floor, on the back of a toilet. There's just not a lot of good options, and we've gotten used to that because there just hasn't been a solution. Yeah. We are the solution, but I think just the feedback that we get from ease of attachment to the fact that no one's going to really leave and say, "Oh my God, that was the greatest bathroom experience I've ever had." But I think the feedback is, okay, it just makes our employees, it makes our visitors, it makes our staff, it makes our customers, students, whatever. It just, people just appreciate having somewhere to, again, I know I keep saying it, but just having a clean, safe place to put your stuff when you enter a restroom. It's not something that people have done.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. And again, it's plexiglass, so it's a hard surface. Correct. So you can disinfect it. You quick wipe and you're done. Again, people are really touching this for the most part. You've got this little area right here that you're putting your purse around. And I think, Correct. Would you say it holds 8 pounds? So that's you've got plenty of weight to hold what you need to hold, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And the front corners are rounded, so there's no, so I think I've put myself in the shoes of, okay, I'm normal guy who's going to walk in and use a restroom. Obviously nobody wants anything sharp. If you have a laptop, if you have like a carry-on, if you have a purse, if you have, anything that you need, the measurements of this have been designed to where it can just accommodate pretty much everything that you are going to have on you when you enter a restroom.
Yeah. 18 inches tall, 7 inches wide. It's about 3.5 inches thick. So it's not going to impede with that. I like, again, simplicity of it all. You're not going to impact the color coordination. Again, more and more restrooms are going color coordination. The architects want to make sure everything looks next level, but since it's clear, the colors are going to carry through.
Right.
You do have your StallStash logo, and I'll have to ask the question. I'm sure there's some contract cleaners out there, maybe some property managers that say, "Hey, if I order 1,000, would you put my logo on it?" That's a question I throw at you right now, actually.
They have to order 1,005. But yes, there's a lot of surface space on there. We have janitorial companies who will literally use that vertical space to put their sticker on it. We have restaurants who will put their weekly specials on it. We have customers who will put, okay, hey, here's our holiday schedule coming up. We just got a picture of a client who just did that. You have a captive audience looking at that thing,
you absolutely
so you
do.
may as well have something to read. But yeah, the co-branding opportunities we do offer. I think it's more at this stage along the line of just, let's say you have a janitorial company or a property management company. They can put their sticker, logo, brand, whatever, on any part of that. And, I think people like it.
Yeah, no, pretty simple, straightforward. It's also, I love this, made in USA. Even though it's made in USA, now you are starting to see some foreign orders flow in. So, you think about this, and that's the thing we talk about on Chasing Dirt. We'll talk more about this on this podcast as well. But, everybody gets too focused in this business about my little niche, my little corner of the world. It's the Northeast and where I'm located. You're in St. Louis. It's my little corner of the world. But if you really think about this, there's partitions in the Northeast. There's partitions in the East Coast. There's partitions on the West Coast. There's partitions in the United States. There's partitions in Canada. There's partitions in Mexico. The whole world has partitions. So, Bob, the beauty of this thing is that there's the need's not being filled now. And, I would definitely encourage our foreign, listeners and viewers as well to really reach out to you and say, hey, let's look at these partitions, across the sea, the pond, as I say. Let's look in Australia. I think there could be a lot of good momentum for you, not only in the States. And again, we want to get that going, but this is a worldwide, problem that you're addressing in a very simplistic way. And I applaud you for that again. So hats off.
Thank you. And again, I think that's what people like. And again, the catalyst for all this was me walking into a restroom and not having enough pockets or space between my knees to secure everything I needed to secure. So everybody can relate to this, and with a little bit of a smile, because it is a universal situation. But I think that's also why we've made this to where it's one product with two sizes. We know it's going to fit every standard partition. We've removed a lot of the questions and literally nuts and bolts about how does this, how do you attach these? We have a lot of customers who will run a bead of acrylic adhesive on that top groove just as an added element of security. We've never really had issues of theft. I mean, it's 1.5 feet long. It's kind of hard to jam in your shirt pocket. But yeah, I think from the get-go, we've just wanted to. I've wanted to make this as easy as possible because, again, people purchase something, and the first thing you have to worry about is installation and maintenance and who's going to do it. And I wanted to remove all of those obstacles for making this something that somebody could take out of the box, attach it to the partition, and it's ready to use immediately.
Yeah. The other thing, you sent a picture, and again, I apologize, my photos are not popping up for it. But the other thing, I didn't even think about it. You had this shown in the shower as well.
Oh yeah.
So are you seeing applications with the shower as well?
Yeah, very much so. We had a college order for their athletic facility showers, and it was the same measurement, and that was the specific reason why they ordered them. So, the name of the product is StallStash. Obviously, it's for restrooms, but I know I sent you some images of how this one in multiple customers have used these for their showers.
Yeah, no, I think the range, and I'm sure you're not going to stop with just StallStash. I won't try to probe too much into what your version 2 you're coming out with, but I'm sure your mind's racking. But we'll have the photos put onto the notes sections of the podcast, so we'll do that. But to wrap up here, I guess the beauty of this thing, again, Bob, I applaud you. The simple the simple idea, and again, some work to get it off and launched, the fact that you got into the business of cleaning, Bob, just out of interest, my own personal interest, I find it very interesting how people get into the business of cleaning. What did you do in a prior life?
I was in sales for a contracting company and did a couple things. I mean, I had a sales consulting business. So that's my background. And I think that's the fun part of having a product where if you know the need is there, you know the demand is there, how you're going to create it. Going back to what you just said, awareness is very hard to generate today. And I think having a sales background when you know that your day is picking up the phone 100 times a day or reaching out to people in industries that there's interest, I think that's really helped us accelerate how quickly this has been able to take hold, because I like the selling part of it. And, you could have the greatest invention of the world in the world and the best website, but if you don't have somebody who's out there pitching and selling
every day,
it's not going to go quickly.
No, you went all in, and I applaud you for that. There's so many people come up with good ideas and just don't execute on them. So hats off for you to taking that leap of faith and making this thing happen. I see big things with this. My ask for the audience is, again, go back to what we talked about. Take those problem clients, take those high traffic restrooms. I don't care if it's a college or restaurant, high end, low end, BSC, if a property manager, throw them into your restrooms and see what feedback. Right now, looking at this thing, you do push these through some distribution. People will ask. I'm going to publish your website. You do sell direct as well. So I think probably right now, StallStash.com, which will be on the notes, www.StallStash.com. You'll see photos, you'll see the kind of setups, you'll see the dimensions, you'll see everything you need to do there. But the beauty of this thing, I guess you have the 4-pack, which is $93.80, which works out to about $23.95 each. Then you have the individuals at $24.95 plus shipping and handling. So Bob was kind enough to throw a promo code in as well. And I guess that's all uppercase clean square, CLEANSQUARE. You put that at the as a promo code at the checkout, and again, it'll be in the show notes. Bob has been generous enough to give a 15% discount, so thank you for that, Bob. And
uppercase and lowercase.
Is it uppercase and lowercase? I'll make sure that we put that on there. But we'll. My ask again is let's find some partitions we can throw this up on in some high traffic areas. And I think what I'll do is I'll put Bob's contact information on both how to reach him via email. As well as how to reach him via LinkedIn. And of course, if Bob, I appreciate you becoming a member of the Clean Square community as well. So we're gaining speed with people having conversations about the business of cleaning. So I appreciate that, but we'll put this all out there. And my ask is, let's find 20 restrooms within your facility. Let's get those installed into your in each of your stalls, and let's just see what feedback comes. And I think, again, we're looking to shape perception. And to Bob's point earlier about the high touch areas, about not having a place to place. I wasn't even thinking about the laptop. That's the biggest issue I have as I walk into a restaurant or to a hotel and have to use the facilities. Where do I put my laptop? Because I don't want to leave it on the table outside. So there's all these avenues, I think.
Yeah. In studies about, what percentage of people have dropped their phone in a toilet, or it's been water damage in the public restroom, or people walking out of a restroom without their phone, without their laptop, without their keys, without their nice watch, whatever it is. I mean, this is, again, that fundamental addressing of a concern that people just want a clean, safe place that's convenient to put their stuff from statistically anywhere from 30 seconds to 180 seconds. That's what we do.
Yeah, no, I love the idea, and I think you're onto something that's going to be big. My hope is we'll have some audience members. This will be published on Clean Square, of course, LinkedIn. I'd love to see what comes out of this. And, when you come out with version 2.0, I definitely want you back on here, because I'm kind of racking my mind right now where I would go with version 2.0, and it's pretty obvious what direction should be going. So hats off to you, Bob.
We do have new products slated to come out 2023. It's exciting. So I hope to share those with you at some point down the road.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate everything. Any last comments, or again, I'll put into the show notes on how to reach you, but any last comments or thoughts or Anything
No, we're easy to
to
find. Again, we have an online store. If anybody has any questions, they can reach out directly. I'm happy to help any way I can.
Yeah, and you are open to, I guess, while you will sell direct, if the distributor walks up to you and says, "Hey, listen, I think there's a need. I've got X many number of reps that are on the field every day selling something," you're open to those kind of partnerships as well, right?
Yes, very.
Okay. So we'll keep it simple. But Bob, thank you very much for the time today. I think, again, if we did our job correctly today, this was kind of an initial sales call. And my hope is we'll get it out to 10,000 plus viewers that will actually look at this and say, I do need this. And if they don't need it right now, maybe they put it in the back of their mind and say, when the need does come up, because I guarantee you, again, it was just happenstance last time that I had Kodner on the podcast, and he was talking about a story for 15 minutes about how he dropped his phone and how he met a janitor and how everything kind of fell into place. So I think you're onto something very strong, and hats off to you again for taking the leap of faith and making this thing a reality. So
thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you all. That's the 10,000 Sales Calls podcast, episode 1 in the books. And Bob, you'll be number 1 for forever now. So thank you again for the time. And guys, appreciate it. Until episode 2, you guys have a good day.